The Kraith Dominion ruled the galaxy with an iron fist for 3,000 years. Their empire stretched across 1,247 conquered worlds. Every species they encountered had fallen before their military might. The Kraith believed they were the perfect beings, created to rule over all others. Their ships were massive, their weapons devastating, and their armies unstoppable. No civilization had ever defeated them in battle. High Archon Velshara stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Judgment. She was the supreme commander of the Kraith military forces. In her 50 years of service, she had never lost a single campaign. Her dark armor gleamed under the ship's lights, and her 4 eyes scanned the view screen with satisfaction. Today would be another easy victory. The target was the Talveen system. The Talveen were an aquatic species, peaceful and advanced in art and culture. They had tried to negotiate when the Kraith fleet arrived at their borders. They offered friendship, trade, and knowledge. Velshara had laughed at their offers. The Kraith did not negotiate with lesser beings. They demanded complete surrender. The Talveen refused. It was a foolish decision. The battle began at dawn on the Talveen homeworld. Their defense fleet consisted of 40 ships, designed more for exploration than warfare. The Kraith brought 200 warships. The outcome was never in doubt. Talveen vessels exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Their shields crumbled like paper against Kraith weapons. Their calls for mercy went unanswered. 4 hours later, it was over. The Talveen fleet was destroyed. Their cities lay in ruins. Survivors huddled in underwater shelters, waiting for the Kraith ground forces to arrive. Another civilization had fallen. Another world would bow to the Dominion. Velshara watched the smoking planet below and felt nothing but pride. This was the natural order of the universe. The strong conquered the weak. The Kraith were the strongest of all. "High Archon," her tactical officer called out. "We have detected an unknown vessel at the edge of the system." Velshara turned her attention to the sensor display. A single ship was approaching from deep space. Its design was unfamiliar. The database contained records of every known species in the galaxy. But this vessel matched nothing in their files. "Size?" she asked. "Small, approximately 300 meters in length. Much smaller than our frigates." "Energy signature?" "Unknown. The readings are strange, High Archon, different from anything we have encountered before." Velshara studied the data with mild curiosity. Perhaps this was a scout ship from some primitive species that had not yet been catalogued. It happened occasionally. The galaxy was vast, and there were still unexplored regions. "Have they responded to our hails?" she asked. "No, High Archon. The vessel continues on its current course directly toward our fleet." "Foolish," Velshara muttered. She looked at the communications officer. "Broadcast a standard warning. Tell them they have entered Dominion space without authorization. Demand immediate surrender." The message was sent. Minutes passed with no response. The unknown ship continued its approach, seemingly unconcerned by the presence of 200 Kraith warships. "High Archon, they are ignoring our warnings." Velshara sighed. Some species learned only through pain.
"Send 3 interceptors."
"Disable the vessel and bring it to the flagship. I want to see what kind of fools dare to ignore the Kraith Dominion." 3 Kraith warships broke formation and moved to intercept the unknown vessel. Each ship was heavily armed, capable of destroying entire cities. Against one small, primitive ship, they were more than enough. The unknown vessel was the UN's Indomitable, a deep space exploration and defense frigate from Earth. Captain Sarah Chen sat in the command chair, studying the strange alien fleet ahead. Her crew of 147 humans had been traveling for 2 years, exploring uncharted regions of space. They had hoped to find intelligent life. They had not expected to find it like this. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission," the communications officer reported. "Audio only. The translation software is working on it." A moment later, harsh clicking sounds filled the bridge. The computer worked rapidly, analyzing patterns and structures. Then a mechanical voice spoke in English. "Unknown vessel, you have entered territory claimed by the Kraith Dominion. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. This is your only warning." Chen's eyes narrowed. She had been a naval officer for 20 years. She knew a threat when she heard one. "Weapon status?" "All systems nominal, Captain. Railguns charged, torpedoes loaded, point defense active." "Shields?" At full strength, Chen leaned forward. "Open a channel." "Let me speak to them." The communications officer worked quickly. "Channel open, Captain." This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Naval Ship Indomitable. We come in peace and mean no harm. We were not aware this region was claimed territory. We request peaceful dialogue, she waited. No response came. Captain, 3 vessels are breaking formation and approaching fast. They are targeting us with weapon systems? Chen's jaw tightened. She had hoped for first contact to be peaceful. Humanity had dreamed of meeting other intelligent species for centuries. But she was also a realist. She had seen the destroyed fleet near the planet below. She had seen the burning cities. Evasive stance, she ordered. Charge all weapons, but do not fire unless fired upon. Let's see what they do. The 3 Kraith warships surrounded the Indomitable in a triangle formation. They were each twice the size of the human frigate. Their weapons were already locked on target. Then one of them fired. A brilliant beam of energy lanced across space, striking the Indomitable's forward shields. The ship shuddered. Alarms blared. But when the light faded, the human vessel remained intact. Its reactive armor had absorbed most of the impact. The shields held. On the bridge of the Eternal Judgment, Velshara stared at her screen in confusion. That blast should have crippled any ship. Yet the unknown vessel appeared barely damaged. Captain Chen's expression hardened. They had fired first. They had made their choice. All hands battle stations, she said calmly. Weapons free. Show them what humanity brings to the stars. The Indomitable's railguns came to life with a sound like thunder. The railgun rounds left the Indomitable at 5% the speed of light. They were simple weapons, really. Just chunks of dense metal accelerated to incredible speeds. No exotic energy fields, no quantum disruptions, no plasma containment. Just mass and velocity. Physics did the rest. The first Kraith warship never had time to react. Its shields were designed to deflect energy weapons, not solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The railgun rounds punched through the shields like they were not even there. They tore through the hull, through the internal compartments, through the reactor core. The ship split in half, both sections spinning away into the darkness, trailing atmosphere and debris. Target 1 destroyed, the tactical officer reported calmly. Engaging Target 2. The second Kraith warship tried to evade. Its pilot threw the vessel into a hard turn, engines screaming at maximum power. But the Indomitable's targeting computer had already calculated the trajectory. A spread of 6 torpedoes launched from the human ship's tubes. They were not the fastest weapons, but they were smart. Each torpedo adjusted its course mid-flight, tracking the fleeing Kraith vessel. The Kraith ship's point defense systems opened fire, destroying 3 torpedoes, but 3 got through. They struck the engine section in rapid succession. Explosions rippled along the hull. The ship went dark, tumbling slowly, completely disabled. The third Kraith warship did the only sensible thing. It turned and ran. Target 3 is attempting to flee, the tactical officer said. Should we pursue? Captain Chen thought for a moment. They had already made their point. But if that ship escaped, it would report back to the main fleet. Better to end this quickly. Deploy EMP mines in its path, she ordered. Small devices shot out from the Indomitable, spreading across the fleeing ship's trajectory. When the Kraith vessel passed through the field, electromagnetic pulses fried its systems. The ship went dead in space, powerless and helpless. All 3 targets neutralized, the tactical officer confirmed. Engagement time, 4 minutes, 17 seconds. The bridge crew remained silent, focused on their stations. This was what they had trained for. They were the first humans to travel this far from Earth. They knew they might encounter hostiles. The Indomitable was designed for exploration, yes, but also for defense, because humanity had learned long ago that the universe could be a dangerous place. Chen stood from her command chair. Communications. Can you access their language database from the disabled ships? Working on it, Captain. The AI is analyzing their transmissions and broadcasts. Give me a few minutes. Chen nodded and turned to her first officer, Commander James Rodriguez. Damage report. Forward shields at 73%. Minor damage to the outer hull plating. No casualties. The ship is fully operational. Good, maintain alert status. I don't think this is over. She was right. On the bridge of the Eternal Judgment, Velshara watched 3 of her ships die in less than 5 minutes. Around her, the command crew stood in shocked silence. This was impossible. The Kraith Dominion had never suffered such a humiliating defeat. 3 warships destroyed by one tiny vessel. How? Analysis, she demanded, her voice sharp. What weapons did they use? The tactical officer worked frantically at his console. High Archon. The weapons appear to be kinetic projectiles, simple mass accelerated to extreme velocities, and some form of chemical explosives. Primitive weapons? Velshara could not believe it. How did our shields fail against primitive weapons? The shields were not designed to stop solid matter at those speeds, High Archon. Our defensive systems focus on energy weapons. These projectiles simply penetrated through. Velshara's four eyes blazed with rage. The Kraith had evolved past kinetic weapons thousands of years ago. They considered them crude and inefficient, but apparently crude and inefficient still worked. Communications, have they responded to our hails? No, High Archon. Wait, we are receiving a transmission now. A voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect Kraith language. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth naval ship Indomitable. We came in peace. You fired first. Stand down or share their fate. Perfect Kraith language. The unknown species had learned their tongue in minutes. Velshara felt a cold sensation in her chest. These beings were more dangerous than she had thought. How did they learn our language so quickly? She asked. The communications officer looked nervous. They must have extremely advanced translation systems, High Archon. More advanced than ours. Velshara stared at the view screen where the human ship waited. It was small, barely a fraction of her flagship size, but it had just demonstrated that size was not everything. She had two choices. She could let them leave and report this humiliation to the High Council, or she could destroy them and restore the Dominion's honor. Her pride made the decision for her. Signal the entire fleet, she commanded. All ships converge on the unknown vessel. I want overwhelming force. 47 warships. I want that ship reduced to atoms. Her officers hesitated. High Archon, perhaps we should study them first. Learn their capabilities. Their capabilities are clear enough. They destroyed 3 of our ships. Now we will show them what happens when you challenge the Kraith Dominion. Execute my orders. The Kraith fleet began to move. 47 warships, each one massive and powerful, turned toward the single human frigate. From a distance, it looked like a swarm of predators surrounding a lone prey animal. On the Indomitable, the sensors detected the incoming fleet. Captain, we have 47 hostile vessels approaching from multiple vectors. They are surrounding us. Chen studied the tactical display. Her ship was fast and well armed, but it was still just one ship. 47 to 1 were not good odds, even with superior weapons. Time to weapons range? 12 minutes. Chen turned to face her crew. They were looking at her, waiting for orders. These were good people. Scientists, engineers, soldiers. They had volunteered for this mission knowing they might never return home. Now they were about to face impossible odds against an enemy they barely understood. Listen up, she said clearly. We are about to enter combat against a hostile fleet. The odds are not in our favor, but I need you to remember something. We are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for humanity. We are showing these aliens that humans do not kneel. We do not surrender. And we do not go quietly into the dark. She paused, letting her words sink in. Every species they have conquered probably thought they could not win. They probably gave up before the fight was over. We are not going to do that. We are going to fight with everything we have. We are going to show them that humanity is different. That humanity is dangerous. Are you with me? Yes, Captain. The crew responded in unison. Chen smiled grimly. Then battle stations. Prepare all weapons. Route auxiliary power to shields and engines, and someone find me a way to win this fight. The Indomitable's engines flared bright as the ship prepared for battle, 1 human vessel against 47 alien warships. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity was capable of. The Kraith fleet attacked in waves. The first wave consisted of 12 ships moving in a standard pincer formation. They had done this thousands of times against thousands of enemies. The tactic always worked. Surround, overwhelm, destroy. But the Indomitable did not behave like any enemy they had faced before. The human ship accelerated hard, racing directly toward the center of the pincer formation. The Kraith expected it to try to break through. Instead, at the last moment, the Indomitable executed a brutal 90-degree turn that would have crushed most crews under the G-forces. The ship dove beneath the Kraith formation. Now, Captain Chen ordered. The Indomitable's belly turrets opened fire as it passed under the enemy ships. Railgun rounds tore upward into the less armored undersides of the Kraith vessels. 3 ships suffered critical damage, their engines exploding. They fell out of formation, drifting helplessly. The remaining Kraith ships tried to follow, but the Indomitable was already gone, racing toward the debris field left from the Talveen battle. Destroyed ships floated in orbit around the planet, chunks of metal and hull plating scattered across thousands of kilometers. "Captain, what are we doing?" Rodriguez asked. "Using the environment," Chen replied. "In naval warfare on Earth, ships used islands, reefs, anything for cover and advantage. Space is no different. That debris field is our terrain now." The Indomitable plunged into the wreckage. The Kraith ships followed, their larger size making them less maneuverable in the tight spaces. Chen had grown up sailing with her father on Earth's oceans. She understood how to use currents, wind, and obstacles. Space had different physics, but the principles remained the same. A Kraith destroyer moved to cut them off. The Indomitable grabbed a piece of debris with its tractor beam and flung it at the destroyer. The chunk of metal, as large as a bus, struck the Kraith ship's bridge. The destroyer veered off course, colliding with another Kraith vessel. "Two more down," the tactical officer reported. Velshara watched the battle with growing frustration. The human ship was fighting like a small predator, quick and vicious, using every trick to survive. Kraith tactics relied on formation and overwhelming firepower. But formations meant nothing when the enemy refused to engage directly. "Break formation," she commanded. "Independent hunting patterns. Pursue and destroy." The Kraith ships scattered, each captain trying to corner the elusive human vessel, but this played into Chen's hands. Divided, the Kraith ships were easier targets. The Indomitable emerged from the debris field, 3 Kraith ships in pursuit. Chen waited until they were committed to the chase, then ordered a full stop. The human ship's engines fired in reverse at maximum thrust. The sudden deceleration caught the Kraith by surprise. Their ships overshot, passing the Indomitable. Now the hunter became the hunted. The Indomitable's forward guns opened fire, catching all 3 ships from behind. Torpedoes slammed into their engines. Railgun rounds penetrated their reactors. Within seconds, 3 more Kraith ships were destroyed or disabled. 12 enemy ships neutralized, Rodriguez reported. 35 remain. Chen checked her console. The Indomitable had taken damage. Shields were at 40%. Hull breaches on deck 7 and 9 sealed now. Ammunition down to 60%. They could not keep this up forever. "Captain, the Kraith are adapting," the tactical officer warned. "They are using wider spacing and coordinated fire patterns." Chen nodded. She had expected this. The Kraith were learning. That was dangerous. The next wave hit harder. The Kraith ships stayed at range, using their energy weapons to wear down the Indomitable's shields. Chen tried to close the distance, but the aliens had learned to retreat, maintaining their firing range. The bridge shook as another blast struck the shields. "Shields at 22%, Rodriguez reported. "Multiple systems showing stress." Chen's mind raced. They needed a new strategy. Something unexpected. She looked at the tactical display at the planet below at the enemy positions. Then she saw it. "Helm, take us into the planet's atmosphere." Rodriguez turned sharply. "Captain, the Indomitable was not designed for atmospheric entry at these speeds." "I know. But neither were their ships." "Helm, do it." The Indomitable dove toward the planet. The Kraith fleet followed, unwilling to let their prey escape. As the ships entered the upper atmosphere, friction began to heat their hulls. The Indomitable's advanced heat shielding protected it, but the Kraith vessels were not designed for this. The pursuing ships began to glow red-hot. One by one, they were forced to break off, pulling back into space before their hulls melted. Only the most advanced Kraith ships could follow, and there were only 7 of those. 7 was better than 35. The Indomitable skimmed through the planet's stratosphere, using the thick air to maneuver in ways impossible in space. The Kraith ships struggled to maintain pursuit. Chen led them on a deadly chase through the clouds, using storms and air currents to her advantage. Then she turned the Indomitable straight up and fired all engines at maximum. The ship rocketed back into space, emerging behind the Kraith formation. Before they could react, torpedoes and railgun rounds struck them from behind. 5 ships went down. Only 2 remained. But Chen's triumph was short-lived. The main Kraith fleet was repositioning, and Velshara had finally lost her patience. "Prepare the quantum disruptor," the High Archon ordered. Her officers looked horrified. "High Archon, that weapon is forbidden by the Dominion's own laws. It is considered too cruel even for warfare. I do not care. This human ship has humiliated us for the last time. Fire the disruptor." The Eternal Judgment's main weapon charged with a sound like reality tearing. A massive dish on the flagship's bow began to glow with purple energy. Space itself seemed to bend around the weapon. On the Indomitable, alarms blared. Captain, massive energy buildup on the flagship. Unknown weapon type. Power levels are off the scale. Chen felt ice in her veins. She had no idea what that weapon was, but she knew it was bad. Evasive maneuvers. All power to shields and engines, the quantum disruptor fired. The beam was not visible to the human eye, but its effects were. Space twisted along its path. Where it struck, matter simply ceased to exist in any coherent form. Atoms were torn apart at the quantum level, breaking down into subatomic particles. The beam caught the Indomitable's port side. 40% of the ship simply disintegrated. Entire decks vanished. The ship spun wildly out of control, trailing atmosphere and debris. On the bridge, half the consoles exploded. The lights died. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Chen was thrown from her chair, hitting the deck hard. She tasted blood. "Damage report," she gasped, pulling herself up. Rodriguez was at his station, blood running down his face from a cut on his forehead. Portside sections 7 through 12 are gone. "We have lost 42 crew members. Main reactor is offline. We are on emergency power only. Weapons are down. Shields are down. Captain, we are dead in space." Chen looked at the view screen. The Kraith fleet was approaching, weapons charged for the killing blow. She had failed. The Indomitable was finished. But then she looked at the tactical display, at the Eternal Judgment, at Velshara's flagship, sitting there so confidently, so certain of victory. And Captain Sarah Chen smiled through the blood on her lips. "Helm, do we have maneuvering thrusters?" "Yes, Captain, barely." "Good. Point us at the flagship. Full thrust." Rodriguez understood immediately. "Captain, you are not serious." "I am deadly serious. If we are going down, we are taking that arrogant monster with us. Full thrust, helm, ramming speed." The Indomitable, battered and broken, turned toward the Eternal Judgment and began to accelerate. The Kraith fleet watched in confusion as the damaged human ship accelerated toward the Eternal Judgment. Ramming was unthinkable in galactic warfare. It was wasteful, pointless, and illogical. Velshara herself could not believe what she was seeing. "What are they doing?" she demanded. "High Archon, the human vessel is on a collision course with our position. They are attempting to ram us. Impossible. No rational being would sacrifice their ship in such a manner. They must be trying to frighten us. All ships maintain positions and prepare to finish them." But on the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Chen was completely serious. Her hands gripped the command chair's armrests as the ship picked up speed. Around her, the surviving crew worked frantically at their damaged stations. They all knew this was likely a one-way trip. They had all accepted it. "Distance to target?" Chen asked calmly. 8,000 kilometers in closing, the helm officer replied. "Impact in 90 seconds. Rodriguez moved to stand beside Chen. "Captain, it has been an honor serving with you." Chen looked at him and nodded. "The honor was mine, James. All of you. Every single member of this crew, you have made humanity proud today." The Indomitable rushed toward the massive Kraith flagship. The Eternal Judgment was 10 times the human ship's size, bristling with weapons and armor. But none of that mattered if a ship moving at high speed crashed into it. 60 seconds to impact, the helm officer counted down. On the Eternal Judgment, panic finally set in. The officers realized the humans were serious. They were actually going to ram the flagship. "High Archon, we must move now." Velshara's pride warred with her survival instinct. To move would be to admit fear of a crippled enemy vessel. But to stay would be suicide. "Evasive maneuvers," she finally ordered. "All ships fire on the human vessel. Destroy it before impact." Energy beams lanced out from dozens of Kraith ships, all converging on the Indomitable. The human ship's shields were gone. The weapons struck bare hull, tearing through armor and internal structure, but the ship kept coming. 40 seconds to impact. Chen watched as her ship died around her. Explosions rippled through the corridors. The artificial gravity failed. Fires broke out on multiple decks, but still they advanced. "Captain, emergency thrusters are failing," the helm officer reported. "I cannot maintain our course for much longer." Chen made a split-second decision. They had one card left to play. Weapons. Are the torpedo tubes still functional? Tubes 1 through 4 are operational, but we have no guidance systems. We do not need guidance. Load all remaining torpedoes. Manual targeting on the Eternal Judgment's command tower. Fire on my mark. The crew worked quickly. 4 torpedoes slid into place. The tubes aligned manually, aimed by eye and instinct at the distant flagship. 20 seconds to impact. Fire all torpedoes, Chen commanded. The 4 weapons launched, racing ahead of the Indomitable. They were unguided, flying on ballistic trajectories, but they did not need to be smart. The Eternal Judgment was so large it was impossible to miss. Helm emergency turn, 90 degrees starboard. Full thrust on all remaining maneuvering jets. Captain, do it now. The helm officer obeyed. The Indomitable, battered and dying, executed one final impossible maneuver. Emergency thrusters fired in sequence, throwing the ship into a wild turn. The G-forces were tremendous, far beyond safe levels. On the bridge, crew members passed out in their chairs. But Captain Chen remained conscious through sheer force of will. She watched as the 4 torpedoes struck the Eternal Judgment's command tower. The explosions were beautiful. The tower, where Velshara and her command staff controlled the entire fleet, erupted in flames. The blast tore through multiple decks. The Eternal Judgment's main power systems overloaded. The massive ship went dark, its weapons falling silent. On the flagship's bridge, Velshara was thrown to the deck as the explosions ripped through her ship. Alarms screamed. Officers shouted in panic. The lights died, replaced by the red glow of emergency systems. Evacuate the bridge, she commanded. All command staff to the backup control center. As Velshara fled her ruined bridge, she looked back at the view screen. The human ship had missed them by mere kilometers, its suicide run thwarted at the last moment. But it had still accomplished its goal. The Eternal Judgment was crippled, its command and control systems destroyed. The Indomitable drifted away, powerless and broken, but still intact. Still defiant, Captain Chen regained consciousness slowly. Her head pounded. Every part of her body hurt. Around her, the bridge was a disaster. Sparks fell from broken conduits. Smoke filled the air. But they were alive. Status, she croaked. Rodriguez pulled himself up from the deck. All systems offline. We are completely dead in space. But the hull is holding. We are not venting atmosphere anymore. Chen managed a weak laugh. Then we are doing better than expected. Casualties? Checking now. Rodriguez worked at his damaged console. 68 dead, 34 injured, 45 unharmed. Captain, we lost almost half the crew. Chen closed her eyes. Each name would haunt her. But they had known the risks. They had all volunteered. And the enemy? The Kraith flagship is crippled. Their fleet is in disarray. Several ships are retreating. I think we broke them, Captain. Chen forced herself to stand. She activated the communication system, running on emergency power. If this was humanity's final message to the galaxy, she would make it count. Attention Kraith Fleet, she broadcast. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Naval Ship Indomitable. You have witnessed today what happens when you threaten humanity. We came in peace offering friendship. You responded with violence. You tried to destroy us with overwhelming force. You failed. She paused, catching her breath. Return to your empire. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humanity has arrived in the galaxy. Tell them that we will not be conquered. We will not surrender. We will not kneel. And if you come for us again, we will be ready. This is not a threat. This is a promise. The message broadcast across all frequencies. Every Kraith ship received it. The remaining fleet, already shaken by the loss of their flagship and the destruction of so many vessels, began to withdraw. They had come expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had found a nightmare. Chen collapsed back into her command chair. Well done, everyone. We survived. Against all odds, we survived. The crew cheered weakly. They had done the impossible. One ship against an empire's fleet. And they had won. But then Rodriguez spoke again. Captain, I am detecting multiple ships approaching from the direction of the Talveen homeworld. Energy signatures match the destroyed Talveen vessels, but these ships are still functional. Chen's eyes widened. The Talveen? On the view screen, a dozen small ships appeared. They were battered and worn, survivors of the earlier battle. They had been hiding, waiting for a chance to strike back. Now they moved to surround the retreating Kraith ships, harassing them, forcing them to flee faster. A transmission came through. It was in the Talveen language, but the Indomitable's AI translated it quickly. Human ship, this is Commander Telvek of the Talveen Resistance. You have given us hope. For the first time in our history, we have seen the Kraith defeated. We will not forget this. If you need assistance, we will help however we can." Chen smiled. They had not just survived. They had inspired others to fight back. "Commander Telvek, we would be grateful for any assistance you can provide. Our ship is damaged and our crew is wounded. We are coming to you now. Our medical teams will help your injured. Our engineers will help repair your ship. It is the least we can do for those who showed us that the Kraith are not invincible." As the Talveen ships approached, Chen finally allowed herself to relax. They had done it. The Indomitable had shattered the myth of Kraith invincibility. The galaxy would never be the same. The news of the Indomitable's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Talveen broadcast the entire battle on every frequency they could access. Within days, every civilized world knew what had happened. The Kraith Dominion, the empire that had ruled for 3,000 years, had been defeated by a single ship from an unknown species called humanity. The reaction was unprecedented. On worlds conquered by the Kraith, people watched the recordings in secret. They saw the small human ship fighting against impossible odds. They saw it refuse to surrender. They saw it win, and for the first time in generations they felt something they had almost forgotten. Hope. On the Kraith homeworld, the High Council met in emergency session. Velshara stood before them, stripped of her rank and armor. She had failed. The Eternal Judgment had barely made it back to Kraith space, towed by other ships. Her career was over. "You lost 47 ships to one enemy vessel," the council leader said coldly. "You used forbidden weapons. You humiliated the Dominion in front of the entire galaxy. Explain yourself." Velshara stood tall despite her disgrace. "I underestimated them. We all did. These humans are not like the other species we have conquered. They are warriors. They have fought themselves for thousands of years. They know only how to fight and how to win. One ship cannot threaten an empire. It is not one ship we should fear," Velshara replied. "It is what that one ship represents. The humans are out there somewhere beyond known space. If one of their ships could do this much damage, what will a fleet do? What will 1,000 fleets do?" The council members shifted uncomfortably. They had never considered the possibility that humanity might have more ships, more weapons, more of those terrifying warriors. "What do you recommend?" the council leader asked. "Withdraw our forces from the border regions, consolidate our defenses, and pray to our gods that the humans are not interested in vengeance." While the Kraith debated, the Indomitable limped back toward human space. The journey took 3 weeks. The Talveen had helped repair the worst damage, but the ship was still barely functional. Captain Chen spent those weeks writing reports, recording everything they had learned, and mourning her dead. When they finally reached the edge of human-controlled space, they were met by a fleet of Earth ships. Word of their encounter had been transmitted ahead. The entire government was waiting for their return. Chen stood on the bridge as they approached Earth. The planet had never looked more beautiful. "Home. Captain, we are receiving a transmission from Earth Command," Rodriguez said. "Admiral Marcus Stone wants to speak with you personally." Chen straightened her uniform and accepted the call. A stern-faced man in his 60s appeared on the screen. Admiral Stone was a legend in the Earth Navy, a veteran of the Mars Rebellion and the Jupiter Station siege. "Captain Chen, welcome home. Your crew has done humanity proud." "Thank you, sir. Though the cost was high. War always has a high cost. But because of your sacrifice, humanity now knows it is not alone in the galaxy. And we know that when we meet other species, some will be friendly and some will be hostile. We will be ready for both." Stone leaned forward. "Captain, your report has caused quite a stir. The government has made a decision. We cannot ignore what you discovered. The Kraith Dominion has conquered over 1,000 species. Those species need help, and humanity is going to provide it." Chen felt a chill. "Sir, are you saying—" "Yes, Captain. Earth is mobilizing for war, not a war of conquest, but a war of liberation. We are going back to Kraith space, and this time we are bringing a fleet." 3 months later, a massive human fleet assembled at the edge of known space. 200 warships, each one more advanced than the Indomitable. Carriers filled with fighter craft. Supply ships loaded with weapons and ammunition. Medical vessels ready to treat the wounded, and command ships coordinating it all. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UENS Liberator. Beside him, Captain Chen served as his chief tactical advisor. She had been promoted and given a new ship, but she had requested this assignment. She needed to see this through. "All ships report ready," the communications officer announced. Stone nodded. "Then let us begin. Helm, set course for the Talvine system. Maximum speed." The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, crossing the vast distances between stars. When they arrived at the Talvine system, they found the Talvine waiting for them. Commander Telvek had rallied every remaining Talvine ship. It was not a large fleet, maybe 30 vessels, but it represented something important. Resistance. "Human fleet, this is Commander Telvek. We are ready to join you," Stone smiled. "Welcome to the Free Worlds Alliance, Commander. Together, we are going to change the galaxy." The news of the human fleet's arrival sent shockwaves through Kraith space. Subject species began to revolt openly. Kraith garrisons found themselves under attack from populations they had considered pacified. The empire that had seemed unshakable began to crack. The human fleet moved from system to system, liberating conquered worlds. They did not come as conquerors themselves. They came as liberators, offering technology, training, and most importantly, hope. Every species they freed was invited to join the Free Worlds Alliance. Most accepted, the Kraith tried to respond. They sent fleets to stop the human advance. But human tactics, weapons, and determination proved superior every time. The Kraith ships that had terrified the galaxy for millennia were destroyed by railguns and torpedoes. Their formations were broken by unpredictable human maneuvers. Their commanders were outthought by human strategists who had learned warfare against the deadliest opponent in the galaxy: other humans. 6 months after the Battle of the Talvine system, the human fleet arrived at Kraith Prime, the Dominion's homeworld. They brought with them representatives from 57 liberated species. The once mighty Kraith Dominion had been reduced to its core systems. Velshara, who had been quietly gathering loyal Kraith forces, met with Admiral Stone under a flag of truce. They stood in a neutral meeting chamber aboard a diplomatic vessel, studying each other. "You were right," Stone said, "about humans being warriors. We have fought each other for our entire history. Wars over land, resources, ideas, religions. We learned to fight well because we had to. The only way to survive was to be better than our enemies." Velshara's 4 eyes studied him carefully. "And now you will conquer us as we conquered others?" "No, we are not interested in empire. We just wanted to make sure you could not threaten anyone else. Your government has agreed to surrender. The Kraith Dominion is finished." "Then what happens now?" Stone smiled. "Now you have a choice. You can retreat to your homeworld and isolate yourselves from the galaxy, or you can join the Free Worlds Alliance as equals. Learn to coexist with other species instead of dominating them. It will not be easy. Many species will not forgive what the Kraith did, but it is a chance to build something better." Velshara was silent for a long moment. Finally she spoke. "We thought we were invincible. You proved that invincibility is a lie told by those who have not met their equal." "We are not your equals," Stone corrected. "We are your partners. If you want to be." The Kraith Dominion officially surrendered 1 week later. The empire that had lasted 3,000 years ended not with a final battle, but with a treaty. The conquered species were granted independence. The Kraith military was reduced to a defensive force, and the galaxy entered a new era. Captain Sarah Chen returned to Earth a hero. Her name was known across 100 worlds. Children were taught about the day one ship stood against an empire and won. The Indomitable itself was preserved as a monument, its battle scars left untouched, a reminder of what humanity had accomplished. But Chen herself rarely spoke of the battle. When asked, she would only say that she did what any captain would do. She protected her crew and completed her mission. 5 years after the battle, Chen was given command of a new deep space exploration mission. As she prepared to depart Earth orbit, a young cadet approached her during the departure ceremony. "Captain Chen, I have studied the battle records. What made humanity different? Why did we succeed where 1,000 other species failed?" Chen thought about the question. She thought about the crew members who had died. She thought about the impossible odds they had faced. She thought about the choice to fight rather than surrender. "We learned to fight each other so well that when we finally faced the galaxy, nothing out here could surprise us," she said. "We faced enemies who knew all our weaknesses because they were us. We fought wars where both sides had the same weapons, the same intelligence, the same determination. That made us dangerous." She paused, then continued. But we also learned something more important. We learned how to stop fighting and start building together. Earth was divided for thousands of years, always at war, but we eventually learned that we were stronger united than divided. That is what we brought to the galaxy, not just the ability to fight, but the wisdom to know when to stop fighting and start cooperating. The cadet nodded thoughtfully. Do you think humanity will stay peaceful? Chen looked out at the stars. I hope so. But if threats arise, we will be ready. That is the other lesson humanity learned. Hope for peace but prepare for war, because in this galaxy you never know what you will find beyond the next star. Her new ship, the UN's Pathfinder, departed Earth orbit and jumped to faster-than-light travel. Behind her, Earth and its allies continued building the Free Worlds Alliance. Before her lay unexplored space and unknown wonders. The legend of the Indomitable had changed the galaxy. But for humanity it was just the beginning. The stars were infinite and humanity was ready to explore them all. Not as conquerors, but as pioneers. Not as tyrants, but as friends. And if anyone threatened that dream, well, the galaxy had already learned what happened when you challenged humanity. The lesson had been taught by one ship. It would not need to be taught again.